Okay, we see this presentation now is a bit more readapted according to the rest of the panels. So we see the space as a living being in a constant transition. So I'm not going to read anything, I'm going to say everything out of there. Before I move into the transitional react question, I would like to show you this video that was done by the Lumiere brothers in Indochina.
Two women standing in the kit, calling brown and black. The woman is throwing grains, something. It's a very strong thing, very powerful person.
So, this is just a resident question who we are. Those are Europeans like us going into China, and they make this film, just brought grains to some other people and they were running to pick it up. So, transitory, there was a transitory period that time as well. We have a transitory period now. We try with this initiative of MOTA now to give a shape to what is transitory art question and try to bring it into today's perspective. Once Alexandros Tombazis, he's an architect, he wrote a book about a letter to a new architect. And he said that every time you intervene into the space, actually you traumatize the space. That's why we should take this into consideration so we can make this trauma be as little as possible. Dealing with the space as talking about trauma means it's something alive. It's like a living organism. It's like an ecosystem. And this ecosystem that, of course, is not just the humans in this ecosystem, it's the microbes, it's the animals, it's the plants, all these things, create a new type of, let's say, hybrid society that will coexist. And within this framework now, this living ecosystem, which is feedback by its own behavior all the time, we come in and try to renegotiate our existence within this framework, and of course, whatever Marcus said before about the interconnection, they are all interconnected. We're interconnected just by breathing. So my breath now is all around the space, and you breathing in and breathing your breath as well. So it's not just an invisible thread that connects us. Also, it's a real visual representation of our connection as well. So transitory act now, I think, it has to answer some questions, and especially related to cross-discipline performance, in the sense that our thinking process is not enough just to make a statement. It's not enough just to reach to a conclusion. There are no conclusions. There is ongoing process. So by the time we understand that any kind of knowledge, it's either temporary knowledge because things are changing, it's all a narrative at the end, it's all storytelling. Even science gives us temporary knowledge, that every moment that this knowledge can be changed. So actually we just live the present, and within this framework we try to establish a balance that will give some happiness, or to give us, to try to achieve some internal balance of that. And I believe that art, as something that we cannot really define it, it's a very good platform that we can experiment with that, and we can test ideas, actions, even products within art. And the transitory concept of viewing things, I think this is what is important. If we make it focus more on an impact, we can solve more issues that we put in the framework of the abstract thinking, the framework of the utopian thinking or something, we can put it into something that we can really understand and don't have to really explain more things to that. I would like to say about 3 projects that I consider that's within transitory art, and they are not exactly related with each other, but within this framework. The first one I would like to speak about is the Hacker Space 66 that we start from next Monday here at ARTos Foundation. The Hacker Space 66, actually what it takes the thinking process of inventors, scientists, young people, that they see future ahead of them, they see future in their life, or even they challenge the future of their life. They start having a more concrete idea and try to bring it into practice. Not only just practice, but actually end up like a product. And this product could also be promoted, be sold, and something like that. So actually, we put the thinking process that it comes directly out of creative thinking, directly from interaction with artists, musicians, and so many other things. So this finally becomes more concrete and will give products. Why? Because products is something citizens can understand, citizens can utilize. Questions can be raised with products as it can be raised within conferences. So this kind of little things will definitely add to the need of arts and science that should collaborate in a more direct way. Aristotle broke everything into smaller pieces because he wanted to examine the information in there, but he wanted, of course, them to reconnect everything. So actually what we did, we became more directed into the information, we became more, let's say, scientifically in a Cartesian way. But at the end, we realized that our specialization kept us away from what is all around us. And if we want to say that culture is valid for, is when we challenge ourselves how to negotiate with ourselves, how to negotiate with our society, with the others, and how to negotiate with our hosting environment, which is, of course, nature. We cannot get ourselves out of nature. So even if we become techno, it doesn't mean that we ignore nature. Actually, we try to be symbiotic with nature, and this is the important thing. So Hackerspace gives opportunities, networks with other places in the world, like now with the Estern University in New York, and some more other centers that we try to connect our thinking. We try to make this thinking valid and put it into something visible, something functional that can work and that can contribute to all these questions about transitory art. The second project I'd like to mention is the Bank of Commons that started within the Common Reflections, which is something like a small movement that started with Maria Babajar and David Selika, that wanted to see to interact with the society in a more direct way, trying to bring real issues into the present time, people, especially the ones that we ignore. So the Bank of Commons was a bank. Instead of using the currency, we use human values. And usually, as humans, we can be very stingy sometimes when it's time to give. When we know that there is so much things available. For example, if you have in the bank 1,000 euros, you make sure that what you give, you keep it to the small level of what is available. So you always give it in portions. But if you have a machine, if you have a copier machine at home, you can make money all the time, you can be, of course, very generous. So based on that fact, we said, okay, each one of us has a human value that is more developed than others. So we call each other that each one would find this human value that has it, can have access of that. So we give them blank checks. So actually, instead of using a currency, they would say what they're good at, and they would give it free to people to execute it. Just to give one example, somebody would feel that I can make anybody feel happy and good, and this is my human value, this is my talent. So actually it takes an old man who is there always behind a window looking the world outside, took him out, ice cream, in a little coffee shop, they discussed talked for 4 hours, brought him back home. And then he said after that there was no fights in the neighborhood anymore for some reason. It was a peace, as if the old man was causing all that, but it was not the case. So there was a lot of side events that were happening out of one blank check that we give. So this kind of Bank of Commons started get the attraction of more people, like now in Istanbul, Biz is getting involved into that now, so they started making like another Bank of Commons there. There's also in France that they said, okay, this is something good. So this idea is expanding, and now in Cyprus, the Bank of Commons was, into quote, was offered and of course conquered by that, by young thinkers, curators, and scientists and stuff like that. So actually now there's a whole family of people with alternative currencies. They do aquaponics, so they create the relationship between coexistence between fishes and plants. So they increase the production of fruits by just having the fishes preparing the water for them. So it's a whole open horizon now. So this transitory problem that we use now, we see how things can work out. And we wanted to visualize this thing about transitory, and I think maybe it's a good time to show a video of one part of an installation we had in Venice Biennale now, because I believe that this visualization of that shows exactly how this transitory timeline exists from deep of the old times until now. And actually this is an arc that we put in there all the ancient knowledge from even before the Egyptians, all this knowledge that was coming out of rituals, up to what is being examined now in CERN, in quantum physics. And then we realize that these two pieces of information, if we take the two extremes, actually they're pretty much the same. Nothing has changed. So one way to visualize that, as I said, is just part of the installation. It's just the arc that has all this information, floats in water, and is being waiting now to arrive somewhere that people will go and open it and see this blend, the future and the past, being all together, being exactly the same thing. The one in a mythological approach, the one in a so-called scientific approach, but actually is just the real one. So transitory art is at this stage now. It's like in a tube, having all the logic in that, and it's floating in the water, and finally, little by little, this is being traveling. And I'm sure we reach land at some point, people will open it, and curiosity will do its job, and definitely start having the impact of awareness about being transitory. And this goes, of course. And finally, I would like to focus more again on being in transition, by making it a bit more specific on that. So it's time now to focus more on the impact. So I would say that you can be creatively resistant, you can do things, but the most important thing is to calculate the impact. The impact is the one that can create another step. Otherwise, we are remaining to the utopian era, where we'll be treated as the utopians, and you give them some space, like in Denmark, for example, in Christiania, and you can stay there, tourists can come and see us and everything, so we'll create another economy. Maybe we'll be left alone, we'll feel good about that we are not influenced by that, but this is not the case. I mean, now we are all in the same pot. We have a lot of crises around the world. The whole world is going into a dead end. Something big is coming, and at least we have to be prepared for that, and we should focus but to the human. So there are so many different types of impact we should evaluate. So we should really focus on that, but starting from the human and go to nature, or starting from nature and go to human actually is the same thing, and you should focus on that. So now I'll call the next speaker to come. Thank you very much for your attention.